Joining us now on Just Your Opinion, man, is a guy that is well versed in this upcoming draft. You can hear him all the time on KMBR doing Niners Nightly. When he's not doing that, he's always on YouTube doing the Krueg Show. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Krueger. Krug, what's going on, man?
What's up, Pop? What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. I thought I'd bother you on a Saturday. You just got wrapped up doing the show on KMBR, talking the draft, and I thought I'd bother you some more. So I know Matt Mayoko was just on with you, and let's start there. We'll talk a lot of draft, but I do want to talk about the Niners and Brock Purdy. And I'm assuming you talked to Matt about what's going on with the contract situation. So he was on with us yesterday on Dirty Work, and he was on with the morning show the previous day talking about how the Niners offered a contract to Brock Purdy and his representatives, and they don't like it. They have their number in place, and they can't come up with the right contract right now. But I hear Jed York in the last 2 years talk about how much he loves Brock Purdy and how he thinks he's a top 10 quarterback. And they've decided a long time ago that they are going to sign this guy. They decided, I think, before the Super Bowl. Jed even said they decided it last November, but nothing's happened. And you don't hear the same from John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. They say they love this guy, but it's not the glowing praise that you hear from Jed York. Do you get the sense that maybe there's maybe a disconnect as far as the brass, as far as how much they value Brock Purdy as their quarterback going forward?
And you're saying that Jed likes him more than you think John and Kyle do? Because John and Kyle have basically made it real clear that that Brock's the only quarterback that they plan to have.
Definitely, but I'm saying as far as the number, like maybe Jed's more comfortable giving him that $50 million contract or 60, where they're more hesitant to do that.
Well, I mean, I do believe that in this organization, you get judged by your area of expertise. So I think John gets judged based on trades and contracts and drafts, and I think Kyle gets judged ultimately on wins, and I think Parag gets judged by the cap and what kind of deals they make. So I do think they all are very cognizant of the fact that they're being evaluated. But no, I think there's a uniform belief across the organization, Derek, that they like Brock Purdy. I just think Jed's a little disconnected from the negotiation part of it and is willing to say that Brock's a top 10 guy. And I here's the thing. I think, it's not done yet. So obviously obviously they haven't agreed yet, but it seems like it's heading towards that. There's definitely mutual respect. If anything, the 49ers are saying the kinds of things that make you think that the deal is going to get done. The one thing I thought was interesting about the Mayoko revelations with you guys was he was like, they're not going to, he's not going to take, he doesn't like, the Brock's camp doesn't like the offer that the 49ers have out to him. And it's like, well, obviously, because he hasn't signed. But then he said, and he's not going to take it, and nor will they. He made it seem like they won't be taking that in the future. Like almost like Matt may have talked directly to Kyle Strong and the agent, who said, "Hey, look, they're offering X, and we're not going to take that now, and we're not going to take that ever." So, so who knows? I mean, this could be very benign and just part of the process, and they'll exchange a few more offers, and they'll get on the same page, and this deal will get done, or this could be everybody downplaying a mighty and unconquerable impasse in these negotiations, and so that there's a huge divide there in the options, and I realize that, but I think anything's possible at this point because we really don't have concrete data on how willing the Niners have stated that they're willing to be ruthless in negotiations going forward, and the going rate for starting quarterbacks is probably, I could see where Brock's agent would say, hey, we want $60 million. And he may even say we want $65 million. And that could be $20 million more than the Niners are offering. I don't know, but it could be. And if that's the case, we may have a massive impasse. And I think this draft, while nobody's really talking about it, if you see the 49ers draft a quarterback, at any point in the first 5 rounds of the draft, I think that kind of maybe them hedging a little bit on overall the position and how they see it going forward. So I think it's going to be a very interesting draft from that perspective because they really have so many needs. They really can't afford to waste a pick on a quarterback. But, if you like a quarterback, you can never go wrong by using a pick on one. And if you're at an impasse in contract talks with the one that you have now, then it's probably smart to take one. So to me, that is going to be like the story within the story will be where on draft weekend or do the Niners during draft weekend try to get another quarterback.
So let's say the impasse does happen and nothing's solved right up until training camp. How do you think the perception will be with fans when they let so many guys walk this offseason? And we can debate whether or not those guys were going to be, helpful to their football team going forward. But when you have so many guys leave and the intention is to sign Brock Purdy to a massive extension and they can't get it done, how do you think people are going to take that?
Well, I mean, it's going to be split down the middle. There's going to be people that are going to side with the team and say Brock Purdy's not worth this much money. And then there's going to be people going, hey, look, the owner himself said he's a top 10 quarterback. Give him top 10 money. Let's go. Um, you know, and in any good negotiation, as they say, it's only really good if both sides are unhappy, right? If both sides don't get what they want, that's usually when the best deals are struck. And hopefully that's what happens here. Let's say Kyle Strong will be happy with $65 million. Okay. Let's say the Niners would be happy with $45 million. Okay. How about $55 million and let's get this done and show up when the OTAs start? Okay. I think it could be as basic as that at the end of the day. I know we're talking about big money and sizable, investment here, but I think basically, I think the Niners have positioned. I think the Niners offer might have been around $45 million, and they've positioned themselves. It's like when you buy a house, somebody wants, $1 million for the house. Well, in certain markets, you offer them $1 million, $1,000,001, right? But in other markets, you offer them $950,000. There's always that guy who wants to pay $950,000 who says, "I'll offer $900,000." And I'll see it. We'll settle at $950. If you want to settle at 975, offer the guy $950, and after he's offered, then he'll come back and say $975. So I mean, there's got to be some give and take in these negotiations, and I do believe the most the Brock could be asking for would be 65, and I think the least the Niners could be offering would be 45. And so I'll stay with my original thought that it's going to be a 3-year deal in the 55 million AAV range with probably 125 guaranteed.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And hopefully that gets done sooner than later. But let's move over to the draft. I've heard differing things about this draft. Daniel Jeremiah has been on record saying he thinks it's a starters draft, meaning that you can find guys in later rounds to be starters on your football team. Some people think it's weak. I've watched some of these guys. I'm impressed, but I can't evaluate the talent as well as you. So overall, what do you think of this draft class?
Well, it's weird. It's like I know Dieter and I have had conversations. Dieter thinks it's a weak class. I don't get too caught up in that. I guess because I don't think class compared to another class. What's clear to me in this one is that there's a lot of where the value in this draft is in day 3 linebackers, running backs, and defensive tackles. And I think, and maybe even there's some day 3 wide receivers. There's kind of a big group of day 3 wide receivers, but I would say there's some amazing group of day 3 linebackers. There's a really deep group of running backs and probably the deepest group of defensive tackles we've ever seen. And so that's rare. That's rare. So I think ultimately, the Niners do have 3 picks in the 7th round. I think I would try to draft either that player that slips through the cracks that you really love, or maybe a guy at one of those 3 positions, because I think that's really where the depth of the draft lies.
So as far as the 49ers, they've talked to a ton of defensive linemen in their 30 visits. And a lot of people say, I mean, obviously they need to find starters on their defensive line. Do you think do you think they could go either way, or could they go wrong either way? as far as taking a defensive end or defensive tackle at 11? Is there a big drop off between the two position groups?
Well, it just seems there's more depth at defensive tackle, so I think you may see teams reach for some of the defensive ends earlier. So because of the depth at tackle, if you need both an end and a tackle, you're more likely to go with an end early on in the draft. But it's got to be a fit. It's got to be a scheme fit, and not there's several guys that are, for whatever reason, not great fits this year. Like, I love Donovan Ezeraku. He had tons of production at Boston College. He won games all by himself at times. I mean, he's just really, really dominating edge rusher. But he's a 6'2", 245, 248-pound defensive end. He's got really long arms, so he kind of plays bigger. But that's going to be a guy that's going to have a hard time playing, against the run in a 4-3 alignment with his hand in the dirt on first and second down. So I don't think the Niners want to use the 11th pick in the draft on a guy who's a third down only type player. And there's a few guys that really are in like that. I mean, James Pierce from Tennessee, Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College. These are kind of third down guys only. Jack Sawyer, I think, is kind of a third down guy only. So you got to figure out which of the group are the kinds of players that fit their scheme. There's a lot of talk that they like Olufemi Oladejo, the former Cal linebacker who moved to defensive end this year at UCLA, that they really like him, and that he's one of the fastest risers in the draft. He could be their pick in the second round for sure. He's definitely moving into that territory. I thought they would have to trade down in the second round, or for value at least, that maybe he would go, more like in the 70s range. But every time I look up, it seems like Oladejo is another team that really likes him. He could go in the 50, in the 40-50 range, which would be right where the Niners pick in round 2. So I could see defensive tackle or defensive end in the first round, and I could see a guy like Oladejo in round 2.
Could you see them not going defensive end or defensive tackle and possibly selecting an offensive lineman at 11?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't think, it would be a departure from what they told us their philosophy was a year ago when
Right.
they didn't take, they went with Ricky Pearsall. And when we talked to Chris Forster, he was like, hey, we believe that skill position guys have more value and more impact on the game, and that oftentimes the linemen that we're looking for, you can get later on. It's, we're going to talk to Lynch before the draft coming up on, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, I forget what day, but they've said that they're really interested in that. They like their right tackle, they like their center, and that they're really interested in a swing tackle. Mm-hmm. And Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College might fit the bill the best there if they're looking for that swing tackle, because he's played both sides. The guy that I think is a perfect fit for them, and I love Membu, but if Membu's gone, Simmons has got an injury that scares me. Banks, a lot of people think is a guard. Dane Brugler, who I had on the draft show, says he's a guard. He kind of, it's funny that Dane Brugler, Pop, used one of the greatest lines I think I've ever heard. It is describing Kelvin Banks today. He said he loses slowly. So, in other words, he doesn't block the guy, but he takes a long time to get around him because he's such a huge human being, so he loses slowly. I mean, is that what you want from your offensive lineman? He loses slowly?
No.
I mean, nothing sounds less inspired the day after the draft. And we got a guy who we think loses slowly.
Yeah.
But that's what Brugler said about Banks. I don't love Banks. I don't love Simmons. Connerly went to Rainier Beach High School up in the Seattle area. He was a 5-star, big-time recruit. If you're looking for your long-term left tackle, and they may be, right? Because a lot of people think Trent's going to retire. Then Connerly, I think, is the guy outside of Membu. I mean, Membu plays right tackle at Missouri, and he's just awesome, and I love Membu. But if I was looking for the replacement for Trent, Connerly from Oregon's not bad. The guys that I really like are Ariante Ursary from Minnesota, who's 6'6", 330, 340, and he really moves well. But the guy who I think is the perfect guy is the guy that Brugler mocked to the Niners in round 3, Anthony Belton from NC State. He's 6'5". He's 345 pounds. He starred at left tackle, and he plays that same zone scheme that the Niners play. That's what NC State uses. So, I think scheme fit wise, I mean, I think Belton you could put him at left guard next to Trent this year, or you could put him at right tackle and move Trent and move Colton McKivitz to left guard. But Anthony Belton is my favorite offensive lineman, I would say, offensive tackle behind Membu.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Dane Brugler. I was reading The Beast, and I love the way that he describes some players. You said Kelvin Banks loses slowly sometimes. My favorite thing he said was Shamar Stewart. One of his deficiencies is he's sloppy fat. That was my favorite things he said. What do you think about Shamar Stewart? I saw one of your clips on the Krueg Show going evaluating him. What do you think about him being a potential selection for the 49ers at 11?
I mean, I love him. I mean, this guy's an awesome talent. Now, and I know people look at the sack production and they're really, really nervous, and I get it. And he missed a lot of tackles too. But I mean, you got to remember, this is a young player. These guys are young people. I mean, these are all prospects that need to be coached up. The Niners have a preference for bigger defensive ends who can set the edge. And this guy can absolutely do that. He tested in the high 260s, like 6'5", 267, something like that. But he plays around 280, 285. And he's fast. He led them in pressures. He didn't get a bunch of sacks because they got a bunch of other guys. And they also lined him up inside some. And they're kind of known for their defensive line. So the ball came out pretty quick. But if you watch this guy in Mobile, I mean, Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network, was talking about how amazing it was to be on the field watching this guy dominate in Mobile. I mean, he went and played for 2 days and shut it down because everybody was like, this guy is the best guy in the field. And then that was it. His agent's like, that's it. We'll shut it down. So they shut it down. But I know he's got low sack production, but it's not everything. People talk about low sack production like it's a guarantee that you're bad. Danielle Hunter played the same thing at LSU that Shamar played at A&M. He played 3 years. He had the same number of sacks, 4.5. Danielle Hunter has 99.5 career sacks.
Monster
in the NFL. He's been amazing. So I guess I would say to those who are worried about Stewart, don't be worried. I mean, this guy's a 5-star guy. What's amazing about Shamar Stewart, I mean, the trait that stands out the most, if you ask me about him, would be is how hard he plays. I mean, this guy plays so freaking hard. Now, I would go to Chris and Sala and just be like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? The hand placement's all off. He doesn't finish. He misses some tackles. There's some concerns, but he needs to be coached up. But I mean, this is an enormous talent. I mean, this guy easily could be the first pick in the draft. So I have no problem with him. If they take him at 11, to me, I'd much rather them take Shamar Stewart than Mykel Williams. And Mykel Williams is a lot of people love Mykel Williams. I really don't. And the fact that Mykel Williams, was slated to go to the draft and then yesterday said that he's not going to go to the draft, I think he's hearing from guys, saying, hey, you're going late in the first round. And I think he's just said, you know what, not for me. I'd be surprised if they went Mykel Williams. I'd be disappointed. To me, I'd rather to go Shamar Stewart. But I don't even think Stewart's going to be there. I think he probably gets picked a couple picks in front of them.
Yeah, that could be the case. And yeah, I'm with you on Mykel Williams from Georgia. I think he's just really raw. I mean, he looked good at times. He's got the body type, but I don't know about him as maybe even a first round talent. What do you think about his counterpart though, Jalen Walker from Georgia?
Oh, I mean, I think he's one of the best players in the draft. I mean, Jalen Walker is it's funny. I used to work with this guy who would be like, Larry, we got a lot of players to look at. And I'm like, we don't got time. And then he said, when a guy's when the guy's good on the field and off the field, it's time to turn off the projector and move on to the next guy. And it's like, you know what? That's Jalen Walker. This guy's awesome, man. He's awesome. I mean, if you know his story at all, his dad, his dad was like a coach, and it means a ton to him. He's an unbelievable agility. I mean, he can rush the passer in college because he's just the best athlete on the field, but he can do anything. He can cover, he can rush, he can blitz, to me, he's an NFL stack backer who you can just send on delayed blitzes. So you drop him back, and then as soon as you just give him the freedom, as soon as you see an opening or you feel like you can get there, fire, go, and hit and go after the quarterback. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Devin White, who was really great and won a Super Bowl in Tampa until suddenly he wasn't, and now he's with Oakland or with Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But he kind of reminds me of like that gap shooting inside backer, but I love him. I think Jalen Walker is so safe. To me, if there's one player that he reminds me a lot of Patrick Willis in that I know Patrick Willis only played stack backer, and this guy plays both. But, as far as just great character, great athleticism, great intellect, when you have high character and a high motor and you're the most athletic guy on the field and you're really, really, really smart, you're a Hall of Famer. You're Patrick Willis. And that's this guy. This guy is Patrick Willis.
So do you see him less as a pass rusher and more as like an inside linebacker?
Yeah, I do. I see him as an inside linebacker who, you could put, you could have a certain package you put him on third downs, but he's not a first and second down guy. And if you saw his workout with Mikael Williams, he absolutely made Mikael Williams, Mikael Williams should never, ever again work out next to Jalen Walker. I mean, it's like giving a speech after Obama or something, it's like, what? I mean, don't do it. You know what I mean? Just don't, just don't. And that's, it's because Jalen Walker's so athletic and, so he very, very special player for sure.
Nope, my internet might be a little delayed here. If you got me, Larry, let me know. What do you think about? Okay, got me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about Mike Green, the defensive end from Marshall? I think a lot of people think he's a little undersized and he didn't go up against elite talent playing in Marshall. But I think he led the FBS in sacks a season ago. What do you think about Mike Green?
I love him. I mean, he's just awesome. I mean, the guy does it all. I mean, he's good against the run. Like, he's a small-bodied guy that I'd be worried about first and second down. How well can he stand in against big-bodied guys? Because you're talking about a smaller guy, right? He's 6'3", 250. But he's so good against the run. As a pass rusher, he's got a million moves. He's got a spin move that's really nasty. He's just, the production is off the charts. The athleticism is fantastic. He's just a great player. He really is. Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, and I don't even care about he's playing at Marshall. It doesn't matter. I mean, he started out at Virginia. He started out at Virginia. Well, he's got to be investigated as far as off the field because there have been some claims of criminal things, and so you've got to. But the Niners did bring him in, so obviously they like him. He's one of these guys that's he's just rock. He's 6'4", 250 and rocked up. He benches 380 pounds. He squats 440. He's just an awesome athlete. 25 different schools wanted this guy coming out of Williamsburg, Virginia, Va-Tech, Kentucky, K-State, Pitt. They all wanted him. He chose UVA and then had some problems off the field, went to Marshall, and it's just dominant. I mean, some of the spin moves. I mean, he had a move in Mobile where he just bull rushed the kid Connerly, the big left tackle from Oregon, and it went viral. He was Marshall's eternal captain, team MVP. I mean, there's nothing not to like, except as long as he checks out off the field, there's nothing not to like other than he's not 6'6", 270, you know?
Right.
And you kind of wonder, do the Niners typically like 6'4", 270? They like bigger guys who can set the edge. But this guy's electric. I mean, and he's very safe pick too, because not only is he a great athlete, but he's a great producer. And when you can wed great production and great athleticism, to me, that's when you wind up with Aldon Smith. That's when you wind up with these special players.
So as far as defensive tackle, there are three big names: Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, and Derek Harmon. And I don't think Mason Graham will be there for the 49ers at 11. I think he's going to go probably top 5. A lot of people have him linked to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just real quick, what do you think about his game? I know you were on with my pops, and he's not a big fan of him, but I think he stands out. I think what he did a season ago with Michigan was pretty impressive. What do you think about Mason Graham?
Well, he's really interesting. I mean, that's for sure. Mission Viejo, California kid. He's really interesting. I mean, he's got the wrestling background, so he plays the game on his feet. That's the first thing you look for with the interior offensive lineman or defensive lineman in this case. Do they play the game on their feet? You can't make plays when you're on the ground. So anytime you go to the ground, it looks bad. This guy never goes to the ground. He's 6'3". He played at 320 and he tested at 294. So that's a red flag for me. Like your walk around weight is almost 30 pounds less than your playing weight.
Yeah.
That's like, well, what's going on there? Why are you so much less? Or is it just so you could run well? I want to, but he, as a player, he's really, really good on first and second down against the run. He's high motor. He's got great vision. You can tell he's a super smart player. He's a very safe player, but he's got kind of a bad body, kind of pudgy. Doesn't have real long arms. Isn't super special on third down. So, and then doesn't show the ability. Doesn't have this like King Kong ability to anchor against double teams. You know what I mean? He's not
right.
It's not like this guy's like the cowboy Justin Smith against doubles and he's just splitting them all day. This guy can get washed out against doubles, and he's kind of pudgy, and he doesn't show dynamic traits on third down. I think he's kind of topped out. I think he's nice for a team that's looking for a week one starter. But I think he's kind of low end, and some of the people I talk to think that he's, a good player, but not super special. Now he did wrestle 4 years in high school, and you can see that leverage. He's like a master of leverage.
Yeah.
But once again, against combo blocks, I'd rather have Kenneth Grant. He doesn't, he's not an elite pass rusher on third down. Doesn't show those traits. To me, his pass rush win rate was about 13%. And if you looked at like Omar Norman Lott, his was around 18%. So, some of those guys in the third round have quite a bit better pass rush potential. Like Aeneas Peebles and Omar Norman Lott have a lot more pass rush potential in round 3 than this guy offers you in the top 10. And as far as the draft goes, I think Jacksonville was going to go with Graham at 5, but I think Jalen Walker is moved into that spot. I think there's a very good chance that that the Raiders are choosing between Genty and Mason Graham right there, and then the Jets are choosing between Membu and Mason Graham, and then I think Carolina, Carolina could go with Mason Graham, or they could trade that pick to somebody who goes. I think Mason Graham probably goes in front of the Niners, but a month ago it was like for sure. Now I would say I'd give Graham about a 30% chance of reaching the Niners.
Interesting. Okay. So then you would say the Jaguars traded one Walker for another, and they probably would trade away Trayvon Walker if that was the situation where if they drafted Jalen Walker?
Well, I mean, Jalen Walker, as I said, is a linebacker.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Yes.
I mean, I think, and you could definitely have those guys together. Trayvon Walker, though, could still be dealt during this draft. And there are a number of veteran players around the league that the Niners if they did trade back, get more day 3 picks, I could see the Niners trading for a Bryce Huff on day 3. I
Yeah.
could see the Niners trading for Michael Mayer. There's a few players. And if Trayvon Walker is, there was some talk about a month ago that Jacksonville was open to moving him. He obviously was a Trent Baalke pick, and there's a new regime. If Gladstone is willing to move Trayvon Walker, if I were the 49ers, I absolutely would be first in line, because this guy has gotten bad pub because he wasn't Aiden Hutchinson, but in
Right.
reality, he's a bad A himself. And if the Niners, if Jacksonville doesn't want Trayvon Walker and somehow the Niners could figure out a way to get him, I think that would be a very, very smart move, because I think his best football has yet to be played, and his high end ceiling is so high that if you put him with Kasarik and Saleh in this defense, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
So as far as the defensive tackles that have been linked to the Niners a little bit more, what do you think about the difference between Walter Nolan and Derek Harmon? Both, I mean, some people love him. Some people say that they're maybe not even in the first round. What do you think about the two, and which one do you think more likely goes to the Niners at 11?
Well, I mean, I would have to say Nolan. One, because I really do believe Tony Pauline is clued in, and Pauline said it's Shamar Stewart or Walter Nolan.
Yeah.
And I really do believe in Pauline more than anything almost out there right now. So I would say Walter Nolan over Harmon. I think Harmon's a good player, though. He's a better player than I gave him credit for. He's a good pass rusher. He was on a freaking loaded Oregon line. I mean, Jamari Caldwell and him and Jordan Birch. I mean, that's an incredible line. And there were times where I thought the other guys outplayed him. But he was a really good pass rusher. He led all defensive tackles in pressures. His numbers against the run are pedestrian, and in some cases worse than that. And after having Javon Hargrave, I never again want to make any kind of significant investment, either in free agency or the draft, in a defensive tackle that's not really strong against the run, especially in this era where everybody's playing the 2 deep safeties, the running back's more in vogue, teams are running it more and more. You got to be able to have defensive tackles that can come off of blocks, and especially in the wide 9, and make tackles. And you got to have second level defenders who can break down in space and make tackles. The Niners have to get better at the point running it on offense, but defensively they have to get better at stopping the run. And I don't think you get better stopping the run if you keep acquiring defensive tackles that aren't good against the run. So I'll take Walter Nolan all day, every day over Harmon, because I think he's a much better run defender.
As far as the Niners at 11, there's been some rumors that maybe they would trade up into maybe the top 10 or even trade back. What do you think is the more likely thing, that they would either stay at 11, trade up, or trade down?
Well, I don't see where trading up is going to be in their mix. I mean, you have too many needs, and the picks are too valuable, and it just, if anything, the 49ers should trade, especially if they like Walter Nolan. If the reports are true that they like Walter Nolan, I think they'd be foolish to not try to trade back a little bit, and maybe as much as 10 spots.
Yeah.
Because I think Walter Nolan's likely to go between 17 and 25, and they're sitting at 11. So I think if you really did like him, I think you would trade back. And I think it makes more sense for the 49ers to trade back. Why? Because I think this is a really exciting draft on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I went and did a mock draft last night, and I went defense on day 1 and day 2. And I went, at the beginning of the draft, and I went offense a lot on day 3.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's some really offensive steals on day 3. I mean, offensive players that could wind up being, really great offensive players that you can get, on day 3. So I think that's the direction I would try to go on day 3.
So you mentioned the Raiders potentially having the option between Mason Graham and Ashton Genty at 6.
Yep.
Everyone has Ashton Genty penciled in for the Raiders at number 6, just because Pete Carroll loves to run the football and they think he's like Marshawn Lynch. I personally think that's kind of nuts. I know Ashton Genty is awesome, but I just think drafting a running back that high with the team that has that many needs is kind of crazy. But then again, Ashton Genty is awesome. just from a scouting perspective, do you think he's worth it to draft at 6 when the Raiders have so many glaring needs?
No, he's definitely not. Just because of the length of career. I mean, if you draft an offensive lineman, he's going to be there for the next 10 to 15 years. If you draft
Yes.
a quarterback, you're going to have him for 15 years if you land on the right guy. You draft a running back, you're going to have like 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
Todd Gurley didn't even make it to a second contract. Running back value is just not there. Now, that being said, I do love Ashton Genty, but there's also, the quality of competition. He played at Boise. He reminds me a little bit of Emmitt Smith. He's got really strong lower body. But I mean, this is an awesome running back draft. I mean, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, DJ Giddens, RJ Harvey, Damian Martinez. I mean, all these guys are great. I mean, all these guys are really, really good. This is a really good running back draft class. So, but Pete's older and they want to win now. He's definitely a win now kind of a guy. I kind of think Genty would be the best fit for New York at 3. I know they're not going to pass on the defensive end for a running back, but I mean, they lost Saquon Barkley and they have Malik Neighbors and they have Russell Wilson. If you really want to win, they have to win games or they're going to be fired. It's like, I don't know. If I had to win games and I was going to be fired and I was the head coach of the GM of the Jets, I'd be like, get me Ashton Genty. Let's start running the ball like right now. He's really strong lower body. He can catch the ball to the backfield. He loves football. He's a high character kid. There's nothing not to like, and this is a really good player.
Yeah, and that definitely would make up for them losing Saquon Barkley in free agency. As far as the quarterbacks, Larry, I think it's all a foregone conclusion that's Cam Ward's going first overall to Tennessee. How big is the drop-off that you've seen from Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart in relation to Cam Ward?
Well, I mean, they're all prospects that have work to do, right? I mean, Cam Ward is the best quarterback this year, but it doesn't mean he's like the best quarterback of all time. He's just the best quarterback this year. He's an awesome playmaker who plays with no fear. He's got alpha characteristics. He runs like he's got no fear at all of the defense. He has tons of poise, but then he also holds the ball like a loaf of bread. He's reckless as hell. He makes some of the dumbest decisions of all time. He's late. The worst thing you can be as a quarterback is late over the middle. And sometimes you'd swear that he wants to be late and over the middle. You know what I mean? It's like the way he kind of plays the position, but he's got true alpha characteristics. He's a big time runner. He's got good size, 6'3", 220. I'm a real believer in Cam Ward. I really like him. I think he's a playmaker, but he needs coaching and he needs structure and he needs, he needs probably to sit and watch a little bit. He's not just going to take the league by storm, but I do like him. Sanders, on the other hand, has got some really incredible traits. I don't think there's a lot of fear there either. He's got some leadership ability. He's very accurate and he's a very competitive guy, but he's so far away from being good because he holds the ball forever.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play on time. He doesn't, I don't know if he's processing what he's getting because it's like he'll wait for guys to be open. I thought they looked terrible. I saw them 3 times this year and I thought, wow, I mean, this guy's got Hunter and he makes some amazing plays at times, but the arm strength, I don't see it there. The foot speed, I don't see it there. It's like, you got to have a skill set. And I don't see his skill set. I really don't. The accuracy is nice, but makes the decision making is kind of inconsistent. The clock seems slow. The arm strength is average at best. The foot speed is below average. I mean, I thought this guy was Dion's kid. Did Dion marry the slowest woman of all time? I mean, what happened there? So he's not fast at all. So don't, I would say no to Shedeur, even though I think there's some really admirable traits. I mean, he's a leader. I think he's a real good leader. But he doesn't throw the ball great. And I think some of those completion percentages are a little inflated. Some people feel like he's the best pocket player in the draft. I know Kuiper compared him to Joe Montana.
Okay.
Jackson Dart, I would pass on as well. He's a good looking thrower. He's a good looking athlete. Lane Kiffin quarterbacks don't seem like they ever do anything.
Yeah.
I don't like quarterbacks coming out of his offense. Also, I loved everybody around him. I love Jordan Watkins. I love Juice Wells. I love Trey Harris. And yet, this guy in some of the biggest games had, I don't know. I'm not a Dart guy. The whole one eye deal thing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
he's a super Star Wars nerd. I mean, I don't know that you can command the room. It's hard to get like Trent Williams and certain guys to follow you when you have Princess Leia action figures are a big part of your life. You know what I mean? So that he worries me. Milrose intriguing as hell because he's 6'1", he's 220, he's ripped. He's a great guy, and he runs in the 4.3s. So I mean, in a lot of ways, he's a little bit like got the Anthony Richardson profile, but he was horrible in Mobile. I mean, he looked like he had no idea what he was doing. So he looked awful. So I don't even know what his position is. Is he a quarterback? I don't know what he is. He's too good of an athlete to not play though in the NFL. He's just too ripped, too fast, too amazing. But there's major coaching there, and I think you got to put him in a package. Then you got Tyler Shuck, who absolutely has the physical prototype at 6'5", 224, and he just throws lasers. I mean, really good thrower. There's one scout that told somebody from ESPN that they think Shuck's better than Ward.
Yeah.
So Shuck throws the best ball, but he's been in college 7 years. He's had injuries. To me, I don't think he plays on time. Ewers was a 5-star recruit at Texas coming out of Southlake.
Yeah.
And to me, though, I didn't see it at Texas, and then I didn't see it at the Combine.
Nope.
So there are other people that say in the individual workouts he's looked great. There's talk that the Cowboys want to trade into round 2 for him. But I don't see it. He should be great on paper. I just don't see it. I'm not a Will Howard fan, even though I did like him at K-State a little bit. I like Kyle McCord from Syracuse. Now, I know your pop's a big Kyle McCord guy. But you know what? This kid's from New Jersey. He's and what do I mean by that? He's got a little rough and tumble. He's sharp as hell. And he's done nothing but win. I mean, go look at it. He won at Syracuse. He won with Ohio State. He won in high school. The guy's lost like 2 games in his life ever. I mean, it's like the guy has done nothing but win and win and win some more. Some people say he has a great arm. I don't know if I see a great arm, but I see definitely a good arm. So I like him, and I really like Riley Leonard. Big believer in Riley Leonard. I especially after go watch the Gruden quarterback school from Barstool on Riley Leonard and come back. And if you could see the end of that, he's like, man, Riley Leonard. And Riley Leonard's a winner, man. He is a winner. And, he's already met Brock Purdy. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But I like Riley Leonard. I like Kyle McCord. Brugler liked Max Brosmer. He says undersized guy from Minnesota is really smart. I thought Cam Miller, the North Dakota State quarterback, who some people feel could play other positions, I thought he looked good to me. Seth Hennigan from Memphis, I really kind of like. He's got a photographic memory, and he's deadly accurate. I mean, he's deadly accurate. I mean, this guy is unbelievable how he can throw the ball with accuracy. I like Brady Cook a little bit from Missouri. We talk about Brock and how he ran 4.5 or 1.54 10-yard split. Brady Cook at 6'2", 210 pounds was 153. And he is absolutely cooking. He ran his 40 in the 4.5s. I kind of like Taylor Elgersma from Laurier, who played 12-man football in Canada. He's a 6'6", 216-pound prospect who's got a gun. And the other guy that I got to check out is the Montana State quarterback. His name's Tommy Mellett. The guy runs in the 4.3s and supposedly was really good. And I have to check him out. I haven't seen him yet. And then Peyton Thorne from Auburn. I was doing an interview with Eugene Asante, the linebacker from Auburn, And he's like, Peyton Thorne. I go, man, Peyton Thorne can run. Peyton Thorne's dad and grandfather both played football. So he's like super smart, 6'2", 210-pound Auburn quarterback, very mobile. And Eugene Asante said, yeah, we call him Vanilla Vic because he runs so well. Which, I mean, that's one of the great nicknames of all time.
Vanilla Vic. That's pretty good.
Vanilla Vic. So so there you go. I mean, to me, it's a very risky quarterback class up top. Yeah. But when I think of McCord and Leonard and Hennigan and Brady Cook, and some of these, and it's like, wait a second, there's some guys on day 3 that probably are worth getting an extra pick and getting. I think Riley Leonard is a winner. You're talking about 6'3", 6'4", 210 pounds. They made it sound like he didn't have a good arm at Notre Dame, but then he went to the combine. He ripped it. Absolutely ripped it. There's no question he's got plenty of arm strength, and he's fast as hell. He's a great athlete. He's smart as hell. He went to Notre Dame and Duke. And watching Gruden make him go through all these progressions and all these reads and all these different verbiage at the line of scrimmage, and watching this kid, he's high energy. He's a winner. He wants it. He's competitive as hell. If the Niners get Riley Leonard, he will be one of the surprise players of this draft.
All right, nice. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen any of the Gruden QB camp stuff, it's thoroughly entertaining. I 100% agree with you on Quinn Ewers. As a Texas alum, I watched every snap of him, and I just don't see it. I think he's a backup quarterback at the next level. But one thing I want to bring up with Jackson Dart, you don't like him for a lot of reasons, but you brought up his nerdum with loving Star Wars. I would push back a little bit just because I know Joe Burrow's like a big Star Wars nerd guy and loves Batman and all that stuff, and he still commands a room. But how often do you think like GMs and scouts bring that stuff up when they're evaluating prospects of like, oh, this guy, he's like a mama's boy. He loves Star Wars. He's not a leader of men.
Well, I definitely think they evaluate the person.
Yeah,
they absolutely do. And I was just kind of talking jokingly. I don't really. I mean, the thing about Jackson Dart is, what you really need to be good as an NFL quarterback is you need to be really, really smart. Mm-hmm. And he is. He's on Chancellor's honor roll. He was the Dean's honor roll. I mean, this guy's the AD's honor roll. This is a academic honor roll player. And this is a guy who football is the family business. His dad played safety at Utah. So, I mean, this guy's, I think, a little bit smarter. And I to me, if I had to go with a day 2 quarterback, I would go with Dart. Okay. And I like Dart more than Sanders, Milroe, Shuck, Ewers, Howard. So I'd say if it was round 1, I want Cam. If it's round 2, I'll take Dart. If it's round 4 or lower, give me McCord, give me Riley Leonard, give me those guys.
Nice. All right, just a few more, Krueger, then we'll get you out of here. What do you think about Travis Hunter? I think he's the most fascinating player in this draft just because of his two-way ability. I think he's one of the best athletes to ever come out of college football, playing full-time at 2 positions. I watched him play wide receiver. I watched him play corner. I think he's really good at both. I don't know which position he's better at. I would say there's few corners in the league that are elite, and he could be one of those guys. I think he would be a solid wide receiver. Which position do you think do you think he could play both? Do you think he can only play one? And, what's just your overall opinion on him?
Well, I mean, he's the best player in the draft. Best player in the draft. No doubt in my mind. Best player in the draft. He's the most decorated player in college football history. Okay. This guy won 8 major college football awards. He won 6 trophies. He's the consensus National Player of the Year. He won the Heisman. He won the Walter Camp. He won the National Player of the Year award, the AP Player of the Year award, the Sporting News Player of the Year award, multiple NFL Defensive Player of the Year awards. He won the Bednarik Award. He won the Lott Impact Trophy. He was given the Horning Award. I mean, this guy, the guy won the Bolitnikoff Award as the best receiver. This guy's, he's going to get an Oscar. he's gonna get a Mac. If Murph and Mac were still rolling, he'd get a Murph and
The
Mackey.
Mackeys, yeah.
He'd be a
A
Mackey
Peabody
guy.
Award, yeah.
Peabody. I mean, he's a Marconi. I mean, the guy's amazing. No, he's amazing. He's an amazing player, and not only is he an amazing player, he's an amazing student athlete. I mean, this guy's an amazing player. I mean, this is a great student, though. I mean, this is a truly great student too. So he started off at Jackson State. He played 1 year there. Or you played 30 college games, 8 at Jackson State, 22 at Colorado. So I mean, we're talking about a guy who 24 career touchdowns. Defensively, the guy's just been absolutely amazing. 26 pass breakups, 9 picks in his college career. Most decorated player in the history of Colorado, despite playing just 2 seasons for the Buffaloes. So, he's a special athlete. He's a special student. The only thing that I would, if I was him, the only thing I would like if he were here and he said, "Hey, give me some advice." The only thing I would advise him is I would tread lightly on the I don't want to play in the NFL if I can't play both ways all the time kind of thing. I would dial that down because, I mean, someone's going to pay you a sizable amount of money, and it's actually in your best interest because you're not going to get 2 salaries. It's probably in your best interest to not play both ways,
Right.
for your money-making capability if I was your agent. So that's great and admirable that you want to play both ways, but I think I would keep my verbiage to a minimum as far as how much and on what side, and just let your coaching staff work with you and your depth chart to see what fits. You know what I mean? Because on the Niners, I don't think I would want him as a every down. I don't know if I'd want him playing wide receiver every down. I think I would like him as my deep threat on 3 wides on some select third downs. And I'd spot him on offense, and I would make him the starter opposite Renardo Green on defense. You know what I mean? And play more man coverage. But other teams like the Browns, I think, are probably going to play him at receiver.
So, but do you think it's feasible? I don't think it is. Do you think that, honestly, like Andrew Berry compared him to Shohei Ohtani? Do you think it's feasible that he could play both positions at the next level?
In the Super Bowl at the end of the year, he could do it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't advise it. But yeah, I mean, this guy absolutely could. This guy's got by the way, this guy had a perfect 4.0 GPA.
Yeah, he's great at everything.
I mean, it's like, what? So this guy could probably coach your team as well.
No, he probably could.
Yeah, but I love him as a dominating corner. And I mean, look at it this way. Do you really need him? If he's a dominating corner, wouldn't he be better if you just spotted him on like 10 to 12 key third downs and then
absolutely.
just put him in there in your third wide receiver package and throw him the ball. I think he could be seriously impactful. When a month ago, when there was a chance that there were some other guys that could go higher and he may fall, I was thinking, man, I mean, if I'm the 49ers, if this would be the guy that I would trade up for. Why? Because the Niners need him in both sides of the ball. They need him as a number 1 corner, but they also could use, without Ayuk, they could use, and Debo, they could use Hunter, and they don't need him on every play. I mean, you can use Ricky and Jennings and Cowing and some of these other guys, but it would be nice to have a dynamic field stretching, mismatch on the perimeter for a dozen plays a game, and he'd fit that bill perfectly.
All right, lastly, Krueg, before we get you out of here, when it's all said and done, what do you think the Niners end up doing at pick 11 in the draft?
When push comes to shove, I think they trade back. I think they do. I really do. I think they trade back, and I think they trade back, and then I think they go for a defensive player. So I was just going through this at the end of the show, with going through the draft coverage, the mock. I think the Niners are probably looking at 11 at like Walter Nolan, Tyler Warren, Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron, Jihad Campbell, Mike Green, Kenneth Grant, Nicky Manwari. I think all those guys potentially could be on the board. Okay, so how do you go through this? I think they need a great player, a great player. So, um, they're all great college players, right? So they also can't, to me, they can't miss. So the safest players I think are Jedi Barron from Texas, who won the Thorpe Award, and to me he's like very very safe player. Tyler Warren, I think, is a very very safe player. Jihad Campbell, I think, is a very very safe player. And then after that, it becomes more like more projectable. Man, Warry's a crazy athlete, and so my guess is that they need a great player. I will still guess that they will trade back a few spots and take Walter Nolan. But if they stay at 11, I think they're and Tyler Warren, Jedi Barron, and Jihad Campbell are all there. I think they go with Barron. I think they start with the corner. So if they stay at 11, I'm going Barron. If they can trade back a few spots, I'm going Nolan.
Well, we'll see what happens on Thursday as the draft gets underway. You can hear it all on KMBR. And Krug, with the Giants playing night games, what's the schedule like this week for Niners Nightly?
That's a good one. I haven't checked the schedule. Is it all night games every night?
I think so. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm assuming, are you doing YouTube only, or are you doing the Krueg Show, or what's on tap this week?
Well, we'd be doing Krueg Show on throughout the week, and doing some videos and doing the live streams that I always do. So if there's no Niners Nightly, then Thursday night I'll be on after the draft. You guys are doing the draft party, I believe, in the pre.
Yep.
And then Husak, JD, and your dad are going to be in the facility. I'm going to do the show afterwards. So we'll talk Niners Thursday night and do a lot, and then Friday we'll do a lot as well. So it's going to be a lot of Krueg Show, a lot of YouTube, a lot of videos, and probably a lot of interviews as well. I'll probably be popping on some of the shows during Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So look for me on the different shows, and then Thursday night after the Niners make their pick. When the draft coverage concludes, I'll do a 2-hour talk show, take tons of phone calls, and get everybody's reaction and break it all down. So I'm really excited about Thursday night.
As am I, and I hope if you have time on Friday, we would love to have you on with Dirty Work just to react to the draft.
Dude, I'm your guy. Anytime you guys want me, I'm there for you guys.
I appreciate you, Krug. All right, so listen to Larry Krueger next week for all your 49er draft insight, and he'll react to it as well next week. Krug, thanks as always, man.
One last thing I was going to tease. Monday on the Krueg Show, David Walker is going to stop by. David Walker is one of the defensive ends that the Niners brought in for a 30 visit. He's a defensive end from Central Arkansas.
Nice.
Who's really intriguing, who KJ Wright actually coached at the Senior Bowl in Mobile and had great things to say about. I'm going to do a one-on-one. He's going to stop by the Krueg Show on Monday, and we'll tape that. So look for that to be put out Monday. A little myself conversation with David Walker, and I could see David Walker being the 49ers, third or fourth round pick at defensive end. I think he's highly likely to be a Niner.
Awesome. We'll look for that interview on Monday. Krug, thank you as always, man.
Anytime, man. D-Pop, love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Appreciate you.